Oh no.
YouTube is taking its precious time.
Okay.
We are? Oh, we are.
Yep. Okay, wonderful. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Sonic Lore with Radar. And we are going to be discussing the classic and IDW classic lore for this episode. Before we start, I do have some rules for the audience, of course. Of course, rule number 1, please be respectful towards others in the live stream chat and do not cause any fights. Rule number 2, please keep the lore questions to what we are discussing, which is Sonic lore or Sonic in general. Rule 3, please do not ask lore questions that will go into spoiler territory, as that will be later on in the live stream series. Rule number 4, when it comes to Sonic Prime lore, that will be later on as well. And of course, recently the next season 2 just came out, so please do not ask anything about the Sonic Prime lore. Rule number 5, please do not ask any inappropriate questions in the live stream chat, as we are discussing Sonic lore, so please keep the questions within Y to PG questions. And rule number 6, please do not swear in the chat, as my content is kid friendly and we want to keep it at all my content kid friendly. So, of course, I brought my very good buddy here, Radar. So, why don't you introduce yourself, Radar?
Thank you so much, Leah. Hello, people on YouTube. My name is Radar the Maned Wolf. Most people know me as Funflip the Cartoon on multiple different platforms. I am what I consider myself an information specialist, mostly tackling a bunch of stories and franchises and like gathering a lot of their world building and I'm that sort of fan when it comes to these kinds of things. And as a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, I like to keep track of the world of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sorry about that. May have to clear my throat a few times. I'm going to be talking a lot. Right. Sorry. So, we are going to be talking about the classic age of Sonic the Hedgehog, as well as the classic IDW specials that have come out in past and recent years. That's pretty much all I've got going as of right now. I don't really have anything else to say, at least not until towards the end of the stream. So, Leah, I'll hand it back to you.
Oh, of course. Radar, do you want to tell us about this project, this whole Google Doc of like more than 200 pages of Sonic lore?
Oh, goodness gracious. This is one of the things I really want to be noticed as, in terms of like, try to make it big in the Sonic community. Like, there's all sorts of people who delve into art and voice acting. Over the course of a couple of years have I've always loved to write. I've always liked writing my own stories, as well as writing down anything that I need that is important. And I believe it was like a couple of weeks after I got out of the movie theaters watching 2020's Sonic the Hedgehog, the very first live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And I don't exactly remember what I told myself about when it came to this, but I wanted to look more into the world of Sonic, because a little bit more information about me is that I've been a Sonic fan since I was very young. Like at 3 years old, I owned Sonic Rush for the Nintendo DS. I still have my copy of the game, and I wouldn't say I haven't been following it per se. I'd say like around when I first got on the internet, I was mostly following the Sonic community. My first exposure to the Sonic community was the Sonic Forces Twitter takeover, and I decided to stick around from there. And over the course of the past 3 years, I believe it is, I've been working on a Google document where where I would basically summarize the contents of the Sonic the Hedgehog games, the Sonic the Hedgehog animations, as well as the recent IDW Sonic the Hedgehog comics. All because I wanted to keep track of the canon of the main universe. Everything that's all connected in some way, shape, or form. And in 2022, after I watched Sonic 2, the movie, I wanted to actually rework my project and clean it up because I got back into the Sonic community. Like I was really into Sonic back then. It was also around that time where I got to meet these two lovely people here, Chris and Leah. Which thank you for having me again. So I cleaned it up. I shared it around with other people. I got new information as time went on, and it basically culminated. What's the word? Culminated. You guys know what I mean. I can't word. Basically, it amounted to this, which I have officially clocked it in at 230 pages of nothing but Sonic the Hedgehog media.
Wow. And it's very pretty too. So yeah, this is Radar's like actual whole like Sonic encyclopedia version.
Basically my own, I'm basically a living encyclopedia, but I'm I'm keeping up to date with the recent information since there hasn't been a second edition of the encyclopedia, which I'm hoping Ian Flynn will get to do eventually. Hopefully, I know he wants to do pages for Frontiers when he gets the chance to. Accumulated, yes. Thank you, Trix. Thank you. That's one of my oldest friends down there. Hi, Trix.
Wonderful.
But yes, so you can go ahead and scroll down towards the classic age if you can for me, Leah. Obviously, you guys see the first page, which is basically the logo, because I wanted to be like a grand and everything's like put the logo there and then like a promotional image of what's going on in Sonic right now. So the promotional image is the latest Frontiers update for Sonic's birthday. I've done it like multiple times before, like just the past year, where I had obviously like a screenshot of Frontiers, the artwork that came out that released with the game, which is of Sonic looking up at Sage and then looking up at a second moon that we don't know exactly about, but as soon as the game came out, now we know. And then another promotional page I put up there was of Evan Stanley's artwork for the release of quote unquote season 1 of Sonic Prime. So that's a really cool thing I wanted to share. I may change it into something else in case Superstars comes out later in the year. But we are not going to be talking about promotional pictures. We are here to be talking about the story of Sonic the Hedgehog. And with Leah graciously putting my document up on screen, we are at the start of the Classic Age, which begins with 1991's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Woo!
Wow, I was not expecting it to be that grand. Yeah. I think now would be I think it's been 10 minutes now, so I think now's a good time for everyone in the audience to start sending in your questions. Again, this will be about the classic era of Sonic the Hedgehog as well as the classic IDW stories. So I'm going to be listing them right here, what we're going to be talking about. And also to be, like Leah has said in the rules, we're just going to be mainly talking about this specific era. But there are some things that Classic Sonic has done outside of his time. So we'll get to talk about those as well, in case you guys know what I mean. So in this wonderful order I have here, we'll be talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog CD, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, Sonic Generations, Sonic Spinball, Sonic 3D Blast. Oh, Leah, you don't. I'm just listing them off. You don't have to scroll there. It's totally okay. It's okay. Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic R, Sega Sonic Arcade, Sonic 8-Bit, Sonic 2 8-Bit, Sonic Chaos, Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble, both Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2, Knuckles Chaotix, Tails of Sky Patrol, Sonic Labyrinth, Tails Adventure, Sonic the Hedgehog Into Dreams from Christmas Nights into Dreams, Sonic Blast, Sonic the Fighters, Sonic Jam, Sonic Mania Plus, Sonic Forces, Sonic Mania Adventures, and the classic IDW specials, including Seasons of Chaos, the Free Comic Book Day 2021, and Tails' 30th Anniversary Special. Again, we are not going to be going into any future stuff, so we will not be talking about Superstars since it has not come out yet, or Amy's 30th anniversary since we know little to anything about that, as well as anything that was recently announced from Comic-Con. We will not be talking about any of that today. Maybe in the future, who knows? But for right now, that is what we're going to be talking about. So, I believe I saw a first question. Let's see here. From Shadow Tricks, are there any classic locations that haven't appeared later on, like forgotten places?
Ooh.
Any classic locations that haven't appeared later on, as in forgotten places in the future of the modern era? I don't know. I honestly wouldn't know that because a lot of the places from the classic era have been brought back up in the future eras. I'm not going to go into them, but I know, like, especially with places like South Island from Sonic the Hedgehog, which is the island where Green Hill is located, like, it is brought up a lot. It's brought up a lot recently, as everyone knows, because, you know, we all love Green Hill, don't we, guys?
Yeah.
Anyways, don't know in terms of later on, but I do know they get brought up back. Sorry, I need to word. I do know they get brought up a lot, so that is, yeah. Don't worry about that, Tricks. It's so cool. From let's see here. From Dino Kaiju. Despite being scrapped originally in the games, are the levels like Hidden Palace are still considered canon? If what you are talking about is Hidden Palace from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is located on the West Side Island, obviously a different hidden palace than the one on Angel Island, then yes, as of Sonic Origins, Hidden Palace is canon from West Side Island. I believe Ian Flynn on the Bumblecast has mentioned this before, but yes, Hidden Palace on West Side Island is canon, which actually has one of my favorite and funniest bosses from Eggman, so that's really cool.
Ooh, interesting.
And now we have our, question until others come up from Cutie Cat VA. How many appearances does Honey the Cat have in the classic era? Wonderful question. As of now, Honey has only had 2 proper appearances. Obviously, her first appearance in Sonic the Fighters, where it's a bit of a weird story where originally in Sonic the Fighters, Honey was meant to be a part of the game, but she was never properly implemented. But her code was still attached to the game at the time, like the actual like arcade game. But apparently you were supposed to hack through like Amy, I believe so, in order to like access and play as her. But in 2012, we got a re-release of Sonic the Fighters where they actually finished the code for Honey, and she would be a secret unlockable character, which was pretty cool of the people over at Sega to do in order to, like, you know, finish this character that was sort of playable, but now she is part of the cast. Um, and then um, and then in terms of other appearances, Honey has only really showed up in the IDW comics, in specifically the story of Amy's New Hobby, which is the story from the Free Comic Book Day 2021, where Tails found out that Amy likes to make comics of Sonic's adventures, a lot of like all of their adventures that they've been, hanging out and about and such. And Tails went around the village that was on Emerald Hill on West Side Island and basically showed everybody Amy's cool comics. And Honey was there reading amongst characters like Bean the Dynamite, Bark the Polar Bear, as well as 3 characters that also showed up. Sharps the Parakeet, Mock the Rabbit, and Max the Monkey, who are from the old Sonic Band concept when Sonic the Hedgehog was being developed. So apart from, Honey having more than one appearance outside of Sonic the Fighters, it's also cool to know that other characters from, just scrapped concepts like get to exist still. I think I just went on a bit of a tangent there. Apologies. I tend to do that a lot of the time where I tend to go outside of a question to mention something else. You'll notice a lot from me. Sorry about that. But yes, I don't think there's any other questions here. So, Leah, if you have a question, you're more than welcome to ask me.
Ooh. I am curious, how does the first Sonic the Hedgehog game lead into Sonic CD? I am curious because I know with Sonic Origins, when it first came out, I think it threw a lot of people off that like Sonic CD actually happens before Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And can you tell us how the first Sonic the Hedgehog kind of leads into Sonic CD?
Right. So, yes, with the release of Sonic Origins, the latest Classic Sonic Collection game, where it basically housed Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Sonic the Hedgehog CD, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Obviously, with the recent collection, they actually put in the effort of adding these animated cutscenes by Powerhouse Animation. They animated these story. They animated these story progressions where it would show like the prologue and epilogues of the games. So we'd have to go over to the epilogue of Sonic the Hedgehog, where Sonic has collected the 6 Chaos Emeralds. And when he goes to touch one of them, he apparently has a vision of the Chaos Emerald going to another island somewhere off to the west. And a 7th Chaos Emerald apparently joins with its other emeralds. And after Sonic has that vision, the Chaos Emeralds end up floating away, and Sonic just ends off running off with all of his animal friends now freed from Eggman's clutches, which leads into Sonic ended up using the Tornado, because the Tornado was once Sonic's plane before he met Tails. He would fly over to the island. Doesn't okay. So this island, which CD takes place on, it doesn't have an official name, but I do know that an ongoing theorized name that actually has some weight to it with a future game. People have been referring to it as Mirage Island. So that's what I'll be calling it, since it also there's also a future game we'll talk about later on that actually holds weight to the name. But aside from that, basically, Sonic would fly with the Tornado over to Mirage Island before he ended up going to West Side Island. And apparently he had heard word in regards to Eggman being there. As we all know, a wonderful place called Little Planet visits Earth every year, and it floats over the Never Lake of Mirage Island. And as we all know, Eggman would chain Little Planet to a rock of a mountain that's shaped like his face. Um, so it is mostly over. It is mostly the fact that Sonic he has a vision of West Side Island and the Chaos Emeralds going there, but beforehand he flies over to Mirage Island because that's where Eggman is next, and that also leads into the prologue animation for Sonic CD, where we see Amy there at Never Lake because she loves to visit there. And she was using her tarot cards. Her tarot cards would foresee a knight in shining armor, but also a grave danger in her future, which obviously that would lead to her being captured by a Metal Sonic and Sonic saving her from Eggman. While, again, also occurring with Little Planet and Eggman and such and so forth. So it's basically like tying the games together to basically make one cohesive story across Origins. I probably spent way too long on this answer, but yeah, basically Sonic basically just flies over to he basically flies over to Mirage Island because of Eggman. That is mainly why. And of course, we all know that Sonic reclaims the time stones of Little Planet from Little Planet. Sorry, he stops Eggman. He frees Little Planet from being chained. He saves Amy, and he takes a tornado and flies off to his next adventure, which leads into Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Wow, that's really interesting because I know back in the day, like everyone assumed that it was Sonic the Hedgehog and then Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and then CD and then, because that's the way they released the games. But now when Origins came out, like we kind of have more of a cohesive story in the timeline because I wasn't really sure where CD sat until I saw Origins and people literally like they were like, wait, CD happens before Sonic the Hedgehog 2, so
Yes.
it makes a lot more sense now.
Yes, So sorry about that. Yes, it is mainly the fact that Sonic CD and Sonic 2 were both being made at the same time. And there was a lot of confusion, especially since in sorry about that, especially in Sonic CD, um, um, like there's the See You Next game with Tails appearing in it. That kind of threw people off, but um, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, I remember there being a source from um, one of the people at Sega of Japan, SOJ, where they mentioned that Tails merely showing up in Sonic CD with the See You Next game, that was just in general. That didn't mean anything. So it could have meant Sonic 2, could have meant Sonic 3, which Tails shows up again. And also because of the fact that in chronological order of release dates, Sonic CD came out after Sonic 2. So, yeah. And then I know Ian Flynn has talked about when he originally pitched the idea for Origins, because he worked on the story scripts of those cutscenes. Ian Flynn wanted CD to happen after Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But obviously that didn't exactly that didn't exactly go through. So instead, it's now Sonic CD takes place in between 1 and 2.
Mm. Hmm. That is like some confusion, and you could say Origins is pretty much your confirmation that CD technically takes place in between 1 and 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Pretty much,
Because
yes.
yeah, because I know I was one of those people that threw me off. I was just like, whoa. So technically Sonic met Amy first then, in technicality in the timeline then.
Pretty
Um
much.
it's just boggling because everyone thinks that Sonic met Tails first, but in actuality, because of Origins, now we have confirmation that Sonic technically met Amy first in
Yes,
the
it is. Tails is Sonic's best buddy. We all know that. But in terms of friends that he has as of today, Amy was the first of those. Um, and also in First of Rivals, there was Metal Sonic. But I'm sure we'll get to him eventually. Don't worry, Metal Sonic. You'll have your day. There are some other questions that have come up, so I will be going into that now. Let's see. From Rain Boom Blitz. Question for Radar. What is your most favorite zones in the classic era? Oh, that is a hard one, considering how many levels I like from the series overall. But I think if I, just to make sure I get time in, I think I'm gonna. I'll go ahead and go through the different ones I happen to like. Just to give you an answer, because there's too many I can choose just to have like one or two. Like I pretty much have a favorite from every game, but not every game, but I'll make this work. From Sonic the Hedgehog, the first game, I really like Spring Yard. I don't I don't know. I think it's the music that really gets me, and also like the pinball bumpers and everything, and also the message that says "cope." I love that. That's funny, considering the next zone after Spring Yard. If you know what the fourth zone of Sonic the Hedgehog is, oh, that cope really burns in you. But yeah, Spring Yard is one of my favorites from the first game. And yes, I like it more than Green Hill. Wouldn't you believe it? Um, and also because Spring Yard has one of my favorite Badnik characters, the Roller, which is like an armad. I believe it's like an armadillo type robot that Eggman made, where it basically it basically rolls slash spin dashes like Sonic can. So I think that's a funny robot to have around. Sonic CD, my favorite. It's a toss between Stardust Speedway and Metallic Madness. Stardust Speedway is a classic. We all know this. Stardust Speedway is like one of the coolest. But like, and plus, Metal Sonic's boss. Like, of course, it's a classic. But Metallic Madness, like, I really like Metallic Madness just because of the whole shrinking mechanic with Sonic and everything. It's weird, but it's fun. Like, ah, little Sonic. Little Sonic. So cute. Um, and then also because, well, I enjoy the future music of Metallic Madness, like the good future music. It's a really good song, and I think I fell asleep. I think I fell asleep to it once. Not confirming that, just letting you know. Um, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, that's a toss up between Chemical Plant and Casino Night. Chemical Plant, I don't care how much you've been used. I love your music. I love the song so much, and I just enjoy Chemical Plant. But Casino Night, oh my gosh, I I love the casino levels and like all like the casino carnival levels ish of Sonic. It is like I love those like bright and vibrant, like fun and happy areas of the Sonic universe, and I just find Casino Night so much fun, even though those floating block platforms crush me a lot.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, that's yeah. Sonic 3 Knuckles. For the Sonic 3 side, I I I can't choose a favorite. Like literally all the levels of Sonic 3 I very much enjoy. The Tropical Jungle, Hydro City, Marble Garden, Carnival Night, Ice Cap, Launch Base. There is not a bad level from Sonic 3 that I do not like or anything like that. I enjoy them all in their own special way. Especially Marble Garden and Carnival Nights because of their music, but like no, I'm not talking about the Origins music, mind you. But like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has some of my favorite levels, and I can't choose any of them out of like anything. Like it's so much fun. Um, Sonic and Knuckles, however, I can choose some of them that I do happen to like. I don't. I like Mushroom Hill. I know it's the first level, and that's kind of like a cop out choice, but like I just enjoy Mushroom Hill more than the others. I mean, Flying Battery's great. I do like Flying Battery, but I there's something about Mushroom Hill that I enjoy the most out of the others. And I give a highlight to Hidden Palace for at least the Knuckles fight, and also the story progression of Knuckles figuring out he's been tricked by Eggman and such. Like I like that. I like that a lot. But in terms of like the two story act levels, I enjoy Mushroom Hill. Um, can't really say much about Sonic Spinball. Can't really say that, and I'm sorry to Boone in the audience. I'm very sorry. I enjoy every level. Every level does feel the same, despite a different art style and a different environment. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I like it, but that's all I can really say. Actually, I think just to make sure I have the time, I'm only going to go through 3D Blast R and Sega Sonic just to save on time. But if I do get to other games, I will let you know what my favorite level is, Rainbow. 3D Blast. Oh, this is my childhood game right here. Green Grove and Spring Stadium. Again, another cop-out choice. Green Grove is the first level, but like the music's really good, and I enjoy Green Grove for what it does. And Spring Stadium is so much fun. Like, oh my god, it is so much fun just running around there and bouncing all across the springs to like other spots of the map and everything. And I enjoy the boss battle. It's a little bit hard, but I enjoy it. Sonic R. Saying this now, Radical City and Reactive Factory are their music is just so good. Like, yes, we all love Can You Feel the Sunshine, but like living in the city and working out, those speak to me. It's like a call from heaven. I love those songs so much. And then as for Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, I actually have a favorite level from this one. It's honestly Desert Dodge. I know it's weird to choose a level to like from Sega Sonic the Hedgehog of all games, but like I don't know. I feel like I like Desert Dodge a lot because like I really enjoy desert levels and such. Despite me not really liking Sandopolis, I hate Act 2 for the life of me. But I enjoy Desert Dodge. I really do. Yeah, it's like a lot of the levels in Sega Sonic are simple in some sort of way, and Landslide Limbo is technically the only level with a quote unquote boss battle. But well, what can I say? What can I really say? But yeah, just those 4 games for now. If I go to any other games, I will talk about any other favorite levels. But there you go, Rainbow. Sorry it took so long on that. Let's see here. Cutie Cat VA to Radar. What classic era character would you like to see brought back in a game, comic, or etc.? A lot of the classic characters have been brought into the comics and such, so I can't really speak on that. But in terms of characters I want to see in the games back, oh my gosh, give me a boss battle with Tails Doll and Metal Knuckles. What I wouldn't give to see them in a game again, and their boss battles would be cool. Like, imagine this. You have you have Metal Sonic teaming up with Tails Doll and Metal Knuckles, and depending on who you're playing as, like either Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles, and like in a game, they wouldn't fight their counterparts. No, they would be fighting another character's counterpart. Like you'd have Tails be fighting, like you'd have Tails be fighting off against Metal Knuckles. You would have Knuckles be going off against Metal Sonic, and Sonic would be going up against Tails Doll. And I know Tails Doll is not really that much of a fighter or really anything in terms of a badnik, but imagine this. Tails Doll uses its antenna and it would summon like its own army of badniks to basically fight off Sonic in waves until you can get the hit on Tails Doll. Like imagine if you got to do something like that. Like that would be pretty cool. Like yeah, Tails Doll and Metal Knuckles having a comeback would be pretty cool. The comics Seasons of Chaos gave them justice. I'm just saying. Like it would be cool to see him again like that. But yeah, and that's in terms of a game. In the comics, everyone's been coming back. I think the only characters that have yet to actually come back, if they're still around, are the Battle Cuckoo Army from Tails Adventure. But I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure exactly what happened with them, if they're even still around. But, I mean, Witch Cart and the Witch Carters came back in Tails' 30th anniversary, so who knows? But yeah, thank you, Kitty Cat VA, for the question. Let's see. Any other questions here to be said? Here we go. Question. Dino Kaiju. We all know these zones from the games, but the one place that I am surprised is not explored is Christmas Island. Not much is said about it, but what do you think of that place is? Oh no. Here we go. Dino Kaiju, I am very sorry to say, but as of recently, according to Sega, which also according to Ian Flynn, Christmas Island is not canon. Sonic does not come from Christmas Island anymore. I know that it is part of the Sonic Bible and as well as, such and the technical files from Sega, but unfortunately, it has been confirmed that Christmas Island is not canon anymore, and Sonic doesn't exactly have a home per se. Like Sonic didn't come from anywhere in his early days prior to the events of the first game, which I know is not the question you were expecting. But if I were to think about Christmas Island myself, like what would I think Christmas Island would be about? Honestly, I honestly wouldn't even think it's like Christmas. Like, I feel like Christmas Island is just like, just one of those random islands in the ocean. You know how the Easter Island heads on Easter Island, but there's nothing Easter about it? That whole joke. What if Christmas Island isn't even Christmas? What if they do something like that? Wouldn't that be funny? Like it's not even Christmas. I don't know. I just think that would be funny. What do you guys think? I just think like playing on the joke of like, oh, like it's tied to holidays, but who really knows? I mean, Sonic's design, his shoes are based off of such as Michael Jackson, the colors of Santa Claus and such, but like, I don't know. That's what I think personally. Just think that's something. Let's see here. Is there any other questions? Let's see. I'm seeing a lot of people I'm having to go back through the chat room and I'm seeing like a lot of people react to things like minutes ago and we're just like, man, I could have responded to you guys. Yes, Rainbow. Awesome. Yeah. Carnival Night was a lot of fun as well. Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling here. Just realized I never checked anything about Sonic Spinball. It's not too late. I know that I believe Sonic Spinball was added to the Nintendo Switch Online. I think so. Anyways, like they have the Sega Genesis thing to Nintendo Online. If not, then Sonic Origins Plus is the 8-bit version of Spinball, so you can check that out. Let's see. And become an Elder Tour. that is something I do want to touch upon. Kitty Cat mentioned it, become an Eldritch horror. Obviously, that is in reference to the fact that Tails doll in the Archie comics can basically transform into this hideous monster, which Ian Flynn actually commented on this. I can talk about this because it's in relation to Tails doll. He said that he'd like to do that for modern, not say classic, because classic he can just be how he was in Seasons of Chaos, which is pretty much, well, peak Tails doll. So, man, I can't believe I just said that, peak Tails doll. Anyways, but yeah, let's see here. To go write a 20-page fanfic about Sonic being descended from Santa. With that cat. Great luck on that one. Sonic be homeless. Yeah, pretty much. He's just a wanderer. That is pretty much all. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. His shoes are based off Michael Jackson. Yeah. So basically, the thing to know about Sonic is that, yeah, here you go, Trex. I'll inform you on this one. Sonic has a lot of inspiration. At the time of the 1990s, yeah, Sonic's design is like based off of like the early cartoons of, say, Mickey Mouse and Felix the Cat and Betty Boop and such. Like in terms of like him being like an anthropomorphic animal and all that. His shoes basically based off of Michael Jackson in the cover of his Bad album. Santa Claus colors basically tied to Sonic. And then the most interesting to know is that Sonic, at the time, his personality was based off of U.S. candidate Bill Clinton.
Mm.
So that's a thing you should know about Sonic at the time of the 1990s. So what a wonderful world we live in, don't we? Don't we? But yes, that is an interesting thing to know when it comes to Sonic. Very true. Yes, thank you, Josh. I don't see any other questions, so before we go on to a question from you, Leah, is it okay if I can go on to a thing where I'd mention, like, you know, why my project is the way it is and, like, why certain things are listed off the way they are, like, in order?
Oh, absolutely. You are. More
Yes.
than welcome to.
So, this is going to be a little thing that I'm calling Radar's Corner, which I will be showing you a fact of my project. If you've been paying attention to the stream that Leah has had up in the document, I've had the games in a specific order. Obviously, the Origins games where we have Sonic, Sonic CD, Sonic 2, and Sonic 3. But then I have Sonic Spinball after Sonic 3, and then 3D Blast, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure people are wondering why is that, and why the fact I don't exactly have the games in a chronological order. Or where are the Game Gear games? Why are they down at the bottom? A lot of it has been confirmed by Ian Flynn on the Bumblecast, such and so forth. I may say random word, don't worry about it. Anyways, so basically, what has been confirmed by Ian Flynn is that there are some timeline placements that have been considered for Sonic. One of the questions that was brought up to Ian Flynn's Bumblecast was, where does Sega Sonic the Hedgehog take place in the timeline, aka Sega Sonic Arcade, which is the game that debuted Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel. Sega Sonic, that has been confirmed by Ian, is said to take place before Sonic R. And that's him saying without getting in trouble or, you know, him not stepping on any feet. So obviously this is the best answer he's able to give in regards to like where it is on the timeline. And then Kyle, the Bumble co-host, Kyle JCRB Krause, he had mentioned, well, where does Sonic R take place? Ian said, sometime before Sonic 3D Blast. And where does Sonic 3D Blast take place? Sometime before Sonic Spinball. And where does Sonic Spinball take place? Sometime before Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There you have it. And then as for the Game Gear games below Sega Sonic, I have them listed in a chronological order because they do not have proper timeline placements yet. unless some of those games have like sequels to them. So obviously, Sonic and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 8-bit are package deals. After Sonic 2 is Sonic Chaos, and after Sonic Chaos is its sequel, Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. Also, fun fact, it has been recently discovered that the first level of Sonic Triple Trouble, Great Turquoise, takes place on South Island. So that's a wonderful thing. Then afterwards are Sonic Drift and Sonic Drift 2, obviously. And after the Drift games in chronological order, like, their release date orders, Knuckles Chaotix, Tales of Sky Patrol and Sonic Labyrinth are a package deal because they both tie into each other. The reason why Sonic is not in Sky Patrol because he's in Labyrinth, and the reason why Tails isn't in Labyrinth because he's in Sky Patrol. Tails' adventure supposedly chronologically takes place after Tails Sky Patrol, so I've left that there. Sonic Into Dreams is a thing I have added to the project. It is on the same wavelength as another game that we'll be talking about in a later stream. But basically, it's just Sonic dreaming. Like, it's fine to be here in the canon because it doesn't really affect the canon. So, like, yeah, like Sonic Into Dreams. It's like a cute little thing. And besides, I added it because the symphony acknowledges it. So I'm like, well, there we go. Sonic Blast. Sonic Blast I had there. And then Sonic the Fighters taking place after Blast only because the chronological dates are a little bit weird when it comes to these games. I'm trying to figure it out as I go. I still feel like I have Fighters in a wrong placement, but I'll fix it in a later date. And then Sonic Jam, which I've added as well, again, due to the symphony, acknowledging the Sonic world, 3D level, and then, of course, Mania, and then the rest of that. So that's pretty much why I have things the way they are, is because some things were confirmed by Ian. Chronological release date orders are fine to go off of because I will go over it in another future stream, but basically someone asked him when do a certain amount of games take place in the timeline, and Ian said it's okay to use those chronological release date orders. So, yes. That is basically why I have my document structured. Before we go, actually, Leah, ask your question because I just saw a new question pop up. But you can ask your next question if you'd like to.
Oh, absolutely. I am curious about let me see. Trying to remember. So, like, I am curious. You did mention that, like, the reason Tails wasn't with Sonic in Sonic Labyrinth was because he was in Tails Sky Patrol. Like, when did they, like, separate in order to do their, separate adventures? I'm just curious about that.
It really just when it comes to Sky Patrol and Labyrinth, it's explained in their manuals that came with their games. Since the manuals are an important piece of information that goes alongside their canon. Tails Sky Patrol and Sonic Labyrinth, it basically just starts off with Tails wanting to go off on his own adventure, like, and also the fact he wants to go, like, visit new places and such, and Sonic just wants to chillax for a bit. So Tails goes off on his own, and Sonic hangs around South Island for the time being. So it's just really a matter of choice. It's not them, like, separating due to anything big. It's just, hey, Sonic, I'm gonna go check out and I'm gonna go out and check some places. All right, buddy, I'll see you later. And it's pretty much how it goes. As we know, during the events of Tails Sky Patrol, Tails goes off to a remote island that he really likes all the flora and fauna over there. But he ends up coming across a group of unknown individuals that have started taking over the island and its inhabitants. Quote unquote inhabitants. I'm just adding that there. These people are known as Witch Cart and the Witch Carters. a witch that rides on a minecart, and her minions who are currently terrorizing the island and taking it over for themselves. The witch carters consisting of Hawkwolf, Beranger, and Karatia. Tails would try to figure out how to stop these goons in order to save the island from their capture, which we all know how that goes, which Tails uses his trusty boomerang, as it's called. And then as for Sonic Labyrinth, Tails goes off on his way, and Sonic's just sleeping. He just goes for a nap. That is until Eggman has come up with an idea in order to make sure that Sonic doesn't interfere with his plans again. He has created a pair of shoes, very much alike Sonic's own shoes, but they are built to basically slow Sonic down. And he swaps out Sonic's regular shoes for the slow down shoes, and obviously Sonic catches on that this is all because of Eggman. And so Eggman would then capture Sonic and put him into his Super Labyrinth, or at the time, I believe this was supposed to be Eggman Land in the classic era. At least I believe so in Japan, but that means it was also called Robotnik Land at the time. But anyways, Sonic was captured in the Super Labyrinth, and it's basically up to him to use his spin dash to get him out of it, because running isn't going to do it this time. And pretty much after their adventures, the two just kind of like get back together, pretty much. Although I do believe that does lead into Tails' adventure, where Tails goes to a different island and such, but you know what? We're not gonna dwell too much into that. That's pretty much it. It was mostly by matter of choice. Sonic went to chillax, Tails went to explore, and their adventures took them elsewhere.
Wow, that's so interesting because it does make me wonder in Sonic Labyrinth, like when Eggman decides to replace Sonic's shoes with the ones that slow him down, is that like implying that his speed comes from his shoes, or is that just the technology in the shoes that Eggman switched out his sneakers with the ones that slow him down?
As far as I know, it is the technology in the shoes that stops Sonic. Especially since, as we know, Sonic is able to run in other outfits across multiple games, and he's still able to run as fast as he can. But yeah, pretty much it is the technology in the shoes that Eggman used.
That's very great to know, because I was like, that's pretty interesting. Eggman invented, like, it's the technology in those shoes that slows him down. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it is pretty much what Eggman was up to at the time. Let me see here. We do have another question here from Dino Kaiju. Another question. Was there a reason as to why there are 8, count them, 8 Chaos Emeralds in Sonic Fighters as opposed to the usual 7? From let's, oh goodness gracious. In terms of the story, I could barely even tell you. The 8 Chaos Emeralds are a mystery, just as much as Sonic Spinball has 16 emeralds for some other reason. I don't exactly know. But Sonic the Fighters. I know people have asked Ian this a lot. And he's had his own thoughts in regards to Sonic the Fighters. Say one of the emeralds that is used is supposedly a fake Chaos Emerald, but it's mostly just used to power the Lunar Fox rocket that needs to be used in order to go up to the Death Egg 2. That is just mainly Ian's like general thought of it. There isn't really much of a confirmed answer. If you want to ask Ian again about this, I'm honestly unsure how many times he's been asked the question. Referring over to the Bumblecast over at Bumble King Videos on YouTube. Um, so if you want to ask him again in regards to this, you're more than welcome to, but I can't exactly properly answer in regards to the 8 Chaos Emeralds. Mostly because I'm not going to be able to bother checking the Q&A master list and the videos that come with the answer on Ian's YouTube, Ian and Kyle's YouTube, so... But I'm sure we'll all figure it out eventually. There is still yet a lot to be answered in regards to Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's see here. Seems that someone has mentioned the slowdown boots were created using the Chaos Emeralds, which are kept in the tower, which is why Sonic needed the emeralds. Yes, that is exactly right. That is a plot point that I more or less honestly forgot. But yes, Eggman used the Chaos Emeralds in order to basically create the slowdown boots. As we all know, Sonic shoes are boots, which the emeralds were kept in the Super Labyrinth, and Sonic needed the emeralds in order to basically, be able to take off the shoes. That is mainly what that was all about. But also, there's also the weird thing that the Chaos Emeralds are also in Sonic Labyrinth. There's only 5 present, I believe. No, there's 5 present in game, and then Eggman has the 6. So there's really 6 emeralds, but then some of them are also different colors and different shapes. I don't know. It really is confusing when you think about it, but the main general consensus is that maybe the Chaos Emeralds can just change color, so don't know why they did that. I mean, again, this was, during the 1990s. There wasn't really much of lore, consistency, or story unless it was the mainline games, like, stuff like 3D Blast and, Sonic 2, Sonic 1, Sonic CD, Sonic 3 Knuckles, all of that really wasn't. If it came to the spin-offs, it didn't really more so matter at the time, which is why we have our lovely lore team over at Sega taking care of this sort of thing. Thank you, lore team. You make it somewhat better to handle. And that's just me being honest, because this is Sonic the Hedgehog. Where's the consistency? I don't know. You tell me. Yes. So hello, Hatmaster. Welcome to the chaos. Yes. Don't believe there's any other questions. I'm gonna scroll up through the chat room and see if I forgot anything. I don't think so. I don't think we've missed anything just yet. I guess we can head back over to Radar's little corner, and I can share with you guys a fact about Sonic. Yes, we are going to be doing that. You should be on the Lord team for real. Oh, stop it. Stop it, Josh. No, stop it. How about we go over to the IDW comics and show you guys some information about that? Yes, Leah, would you be ever so kind as to head on over down to Seasons of Chaos?
This one, right?
Also, you see a slight glimpse of Superstars. So we will get to Superstars in the future. I promise. Welcome. This is the page I have created for the IDW comics. Because the IDW comics are still ongoing, I've obviously separated them into their own little sections, where we have the classic games, the classic comics, the modern games, the modern comics. You guys get the deal. This is the first of the classic comics to come out. Yes, this is the volume book of Seasons of Chaos, which consists of the stories, Seasons of Chaos, Sonic Learns to Drive, and Dr. Eggman's Birthday from the 30th anniversary special of 2021, and Amy's New Hobby from the Free Comic Book Day 2021. Here's a little fun fact to know about Seasons of Chaos, and just in general, the IDW comics. The IDW comics have actually been known to have little cameos of characters that show up and they really just exist in Sonic now. Like, there's really no other point to it. Like, these characters just somehow exist in the world of Sonic. Either they're from another continuity, they're either from another context, either if they're scrapped characters, or if they are from an entirely different franchise in general, which is always a fun one to look out for. And I have went through the trouble of going through every cameo in the comics. And there's going to be a lot in modern, so be glad that there's only so little here in classic. A lot of the concepts not concepts, what did I just say? A lot of the cameos in the 30th anniversary celebration come from the story of Sonic Learns to Drive, which are written by the McElroy family. In Sonic Learns to Drive, we all know the story. Sonic is learning to drive and get himself a driver's license in order to participate in Mr. Munchum's Road Rally to win basically just the biggest supply of their best chili dogs. And Sonic is being taught by Kip the Capybara, his driving instructor. And obviously, Sonic isn't much of when it comes to driving etiquette, considering he's mostly fast on his feet than he is in a car. Well, mostly. I say mostly because he has driven in a car, but that was only for races, like, big races. I believe those races were for the Chaos Emeralds. I believe that's Sonic Drift's story. But basically, he needs a driver's license in order to participate in this road rally. And obviously, again, Sonic needs to learn the proper etiquette of driving. He is currently in a place that is, I'm going off of the headcanon of the artist for Sonic Learns to Drive, Mara Fonseca, that this is called Hedgehog Town, which is artistically based off of Hedgehog Town from the Sonic the Hedgehog Shogakukan manga, which is another continuity. If you guys know, Sonic is the alter ego of a character called Nikki. It's basically all I'm really going to go into. But all across Hedgehog Town, you can basically see cameos of characters that, weird enough, show up that we've either not seen for years or we've not seen at all. These cameos consist of the original rabbit concept design that would later become Sonic the Hedgehog, which was created originally by Naoto Oshima during the development of Sonic the Hedgehog. Gazebo Bubowski, originally from the now canceled Sonic Extreme game, who is the father of Tiara Bubowski, or Tiara the Manx, as we mostly know her. Miss Wing, from the Sonic the Hedgehog Shogakukan manga, a fourth grade teacher at Hedgehog Elementary School. Anton Veruca, also from the manga, Hedgehog Town's self-proclaimed #1 hooligan. Boomer the Turtle, a scrapped second-player character originally created during the development of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but later Tails, or Miles Prower, would be in favor over Boomer the Turtle. A duck animal that was featured in the Sega Sonic the Hedgehog 1994 calendar artwork for May and June, all the way back for Japan, which were also created by Naoto Oshima and also Osamu Muto. And then there is Monica, also a character from the manga, a mouse and one of Amy Rose's friends at Hedgehog Elementary School. A lot of these characters can be seen off on the side of the road or off on the streets. Monica is working at the popcorn shop by the loop towards the end of the story. And also, we also have an in-story cameo by Hawkwolf. If you guys know, Hawkwolf is one of the witch carters from Tale of Sky Patrol, and he would later show up in his newest design. As you all know, the Witch Carters and Witch Cart herself were properly introduced artistically into Tails' 30th anniversary, based off of their sprite works. And that's really all the artists had to go through, because in Tails Sky Patrol, their their sprites were only in their vehicles. We never got to see what they looked like, from the waist down. So obviously taking inspiration from the sprite work, as well as just coming up with a new like designs for them in general. Hockey Wolf was originally just, well, it was just him. He didn't wear anything. He was just a blue wolf-ish character. But later, in Tales 30th anniversary, he'd get himself actual boots. He'd get himself a vest. I'm pretty sure he'd also have just like gloves in general, because I don't think he had gloves in Tales Sky Patrol. Karatia would get herself a dress. Baranger got himself like, actual colored shoes. Actual colored, I'd say, because we do actually get to see Baranger at least in full in the sprite work, but it's like 8-bit games. It's so hard to like figure out how things are in translate. I'm not an artist, so really I gotta like hand it off to Aaron Hammerstrom, who basically drew Aaron Hammerstrom drew the Tales 30th anniversary comic, as well as inked by Rick Mack and colored by Reggie Graham. Sorry, I like to be a sellout for all the artists. They are amazing. But yeah, I went off another tangent again. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that's all right. That's all right.
Seriously, seriously, Leah, you wanted me to do this for a panel. You got what you got.
Oh no, I'm all for it. It's so educational.
I'm glad you are. And I'm seeing a lot of people hyping up the Witch Carters. Thank you, Cat and Hat. Thank you very much. I'm very glad the Witch Carters are at least around. Yeah, like they had their time to shine last year, but at least we have them around, and that's good enough for me. And of course, with future stories, I'm hoping to see more characters return, especially 3 specific characters from a game from 1995. But who's looking into that, really? Anyways. Right, this was my little corner. Now we're going to go out of my corner, and I don't. Oh, okay. We have a question here. Apparently, Hatmaster 777. Why did I butcher that number? 777. So when does Jewel appear? My good sir, my good man. Jewel has not made none of the IDW comic characters, as far as I'm aware, have shown up in any of the classic stories, unfortunately. So anywhere from Tangle, Whisper, Jewel, they have not shown up in classic at all. I don't know if they will ever have the chance to show up, because technically Night the Owl, the host of K-Tober 199.2, over in the modern era, showed up here in Sonic Learns to Drive as the radio host, also for K-Tober 199.2. So maybe there's a chance. If Night can show up in Classic, maybe the girls can. Here's hoping. I'm pretty sure you asking me that. I'm pretty sure you are too. And we also have a question here. Hello. Ray. Here we are. Cat, I hope I'm saying your last name right, Cat. Cat Ellis at the beta stage. Radar. I need to know, who are your favorite characters from the classic era? Righty-o. So, my favorite characters. Okay. I'm going to be weird on this one. I'm going to be really weird on this one, but it's going to be great. One of the characters I do happen to like is going to be one of the characters that it's just like the word catalyst. Oh, Cat Ellis. I can't believe it took me this long. Okay, thank you. Now I understand. Okay, okay. All right, all right. Back at the question. All right, I'm gonna be weird here, mostly just because I'm weird. I am weird. Thank you. Okay, one of the characters I want to say is my favorite. She is going to show up in a future game. I cannot talk about that game, but I said she, so I hope you know who I am talking about. Anyways, um, going off of other characters as of now, my favorite characters actually consist of the hooligans, the hard-boiled heavies, and the witch carters. And that's going off of like classic, like in terms of like the original classic cast, not any of the characters from, yeah, any of those characters from, like, obviously I can say in terms of characters, like I really like Knuckles and such, but like I'm going off of the classic cast, like alone. The hooligans, the witch carters, and the hard boiled heavies. I'm going to start off with the hooligans first. I I love Fang, Bean, and Bark. Like they're a really fun, like they have a really fun dynamic despite the fact they don't really work together but work together as at the same time. Like yeah, it's like it's really fun getting to like see them like work together somehow. It's yeah, it is really it's just I like them so much. Like I like Fang. I really like Fang, and I'm really happy that he's returning. As we all know, Fang is returning as an antagonist in the Sonic series, and I'm so happy for him. So happy for him. And you know, again, the hooligans had their time to shine in the comics as well. I love Bean. Bean is so funny. God, my heart goes to Bean just because he is my spirit animal. Love Bean. And then Bark is an interesting character just over the fact that he's not a bad guy, despite the fact that he hangs out with bad people. Um, I know Ian Flynn has been asked this like recently, and he likes to see it as that Bark hangs out with people that get in trouble so he can find a challenge. Especially since he's a work associate to Fang, but he's mostly friends with Bean, so obviously Bean's gonna find trouble wherever he goes. So obviously it would be easier for Bark to find a challenge, which you know, does kind of lead into the fact that he and Knuckles fought at Summer Falls in Seasons of Chaos. So that's great. Yeah, I really love the hooligans. They're so fun. The hard boiled heavies. Okay, I'm an Egg Robo fan. The Egg Robos are honestly my favorite classic badniks. And the three of the badniks that shown up later in the comics, in the modern comics, oh, they are my favorite. There's three in particular that show up in a specific miniseries in the modern comics. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But those three are my favorite, and I can't wait to talk about them in that stream. But yeah, when I playing Sonic Mania for the first time, seeing the fact that these supposedly elite egg robos that Eggman sent out to find the Phantom Ruby or whatever, it wasn't even called the Phantom Ruby in in Sonic Mania. Apparently, it was just some power source that was coming from Angel Island, and it made the whole island sink into, well, not sink, it just crash into the ocean again. And then the Phantom Ruby teleporting Sonic, Tails, and those Egg Robos all the way to Green Hill. And then suddenly the Egg Robos changed and they have like unique designs and they have all these unique animations as well for some reason. I'm just like, what happened to these guys? And then finding out that they are their own characters and you get to fight them along like in their own boss battles. Like, oh my gosh, they are honestly some of my favorite Eggmen flunkies, and they are really cool characters, especially since the 30th anniversary comic gives Heavy King a lot to shine. And oh my gosh, I will say it now that my favorites are Heavy Gunner and Heavy Magician. Heavy Gunner just because yeah, he's the first Heavy you fight in Studiopolis, but oh my gosh, just the whole egg helicopter. Oh my gosh, it was so. Oh my god. Also, yeah, I just want, yeah, the Phantom Ruby was named in Mania's manual, but at least from what I can tell, like in story, I don't think the characters knew what what it was called originally. I'm just going off of story wise, not over the fact that it's initially called the Phantom Ruby. Because again, the hard boiled heavies are the first ones to find the Phantom Ruby, not Eggman. They just they brought it to him originally. That's what that is basically. But yeah, Heavy Gunner's my favorite just because his boss battle is so memorable in Studiopolis. More memorable than Eggman's boss battle in that stage. So, and Heavy Magician, I like her. I like her a lot, and not just because the fact that. Okay, here's a fun little fact. As you guys know, the Hooligans do show up as antagonists in Sonic Mania. You're supposed to fight them, but apparently it's just Heavy Magician disguising herself as the Hooligans in Act 2. What you guys don't know exactly is that, according to the Encyclopedia, at the end of Act 1, after defeating the Uber Caterkiller in Mirage Saloon, Sonic and Tails get the tornado shot down by the Hooligans. And apparently, when the Hooligans shoot down the tornado, that is actually them. It's just that later on, they just leave after shooting down the tornado, and Heavy Magician would later take on their appearances. I'm guessing Eggman had hired them, and that was basically just their job. Heavy Magician would take care of them later. But yeah, the Hooligans physically show up to take down the tornado, and then Heavy Magician would take on their likenesses as a boss battle, which I think is a really cool story gimmick there. That's fun. And again, Heavy Magician is I like what they did with her in that sense. It's just yeah, I just really like it. Again, the Hard Boiled Heavies are really, really cool favorites of mine. Now finally, the Witch Carters, which oh my gosh. I found it funny how apparently in the past of the development of Tails Sky Patrol, it started out as a game where supposedly Tails will be fighting Disney villains. And I was like, what? I'm a Disney fan. Don't get it wrong. I'm a Disney fan. My whole family loves Disney. We live off of Disney. And to hear that Tails, Miles Tails Prower, from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, in an early development video, went up against Pete the Cat from the Mickey Mouse cartoons.
Ooh.
Think about that. Does that not make your brain turn a bit? And that was in the early development. That was in a commercial, I believe so, at least. But then apparently there was something between Sega and Disney, I believe so, or anything, where it led to it basically led to the Disney characters being rewritten and redesigned into their own original characters. As far as I'm aware, Witch Cart was originally supposed to be the evil witch from Snow White. At least that's what I can remember. But yes, I like the Witch Carters just because of their weird origins, and then also because of the fact of how funny they are in the 30th anniversary comic. I really enjoyed their dynamic between each other when we first see them. I enjoy their fights with Tails. I think my favorites are definitely. I liked Carotia's fight a little bit just because of how she was not into her fight at all. She just didn't care. She was just there doing her job, and Tails is annoying her, and that's pretty much the extent. But Bear Anger and Wolf's fights with Tails, they were so good. I think I like Bear Angers because of how much I'd say expressions he had against Tails and stuff. And then Hockey Wolves, he just had Hockey Wolves and Tails's fight in Spring Stadium. I really the choreography of that was fun, and just the end of that fight where Hockey Wolf tries to hit Tails in a fury of punches, and he falls into the pit of springs. Oh my gosh, I love that wolf so much. Anyways, but yeah, those are basically some of my favorite characters and stuff. Wait, that's how you say his name, Bear Anger. Yeah, yeah, Hatmaster. That's how you say his name, Bear Anger. Um, uh, I believe in Archie it was pronounced Behringer, but now it's Bear Anger, as far as I'm aware. Um, I will come back to everyone else's and I will come back to everyone else's things later. But Kat, thank you for the question. I hope it was fulfilling. I know that there's actually a few questions here that people have asked me. So, Dino Kaiju has come back with a question. Oh, that reminds me. Does the game titled Flicky from 1984 part of the classic lore, or not really, as it has nothing to do with Sonic? Yes and no. Flicky is not canon, but Flicky, as in the characters, were brought over into Sonic because Flicky was created by Sega. So obviously, it is based. Yeah, Flicky, and then another game called Dynamite Ducks. They were made by Sega, but they don't. But they don't really have like actual like story relations to Sonic, or only like content relations. Like, Being the Dynamite was based off of the Dynamite Ducks characters. I believe their names were Pin and Ben. And I also believe there's something going on about Pin and Ben being um, Bean's parents, but I'm not too sure about that one. And then obviously Flicky, the bird, was brought over into the world of Sonic, despite it having its own like franchise game-ish sort of thing. Flicky is not canon, but Flicky the character is canon. I know we have a fun little thing over at Sonic Revolution when it comes to Flickies and Sonic. Isn't that right, Leah?
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it here. No, we're not going to talk about it here. But but if you know, you know. But yeah, that's basically what that is. Here we go. I'm very sorry if I pronounce your name, if I butcher your name even, but Hayon Neo Jip nor Neo Gip. I'm so sorry. What about Knuckles Chaotix? Does it count as canon? Izuka has made it clear that modern characters can't appear in classic era games other than the main cast, and the Chaotix are now modern only. First of all, Knuckles Chaotix is canon. Ian Flynn on the Bumblecast has stated in a Bumblecast, I believe, last year that Knuckles Chaotix is canon to classic, in that sort of sense. About modern and classic characters. Okay, here's something that people should know. Sega wants to make sure that modern and classic, in terms of like brandings and such, are separated into their own bubbles. Despite the fact that classic and modern are like, they like modern is the present, classic is the past of Sonic and such. I know it's a bit weird to say the least, but you wonder why characters like Mighty, Ray, Honey, the Hooligans, they haven't shown up in the modern games. It's because mostly due to the fact that Sega wants to keep them separate in that sort of sense. Characters that have been brought over from classic to modern do technically get to exist in a weird-ish sort of way. So obviously the characters that exist in both mediums, there's Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Metal Sonic, Eggman, Mecha Sonic Mark II, who is from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That's Mecha Sonic in that game, Mecha Sonic Mark II. The Chaotix exist both in classic and modern because they debuted in Knuckles Chaotix, Vector, Charming, and Espio. And then also Night the Owl, which is a weird, I'd say sort of, Knight's a weird one because, well, technically not a game character. He is a modern character from the comics brought into the classic comics. So it's hard to tell with that one, to be honest. Obviously you can't see characters like Shadow in classic because, well, technically he's still up on the arc, and other characters like Sonic hasn't met yet or haven't made an influence on. Characters in classic hasn't been able to be, characters have been staying over there. Again, Fang is in a new classic Sonic game, but he's never had the chance to appear in any other games. And I will say this now because in case some of you have read the IDW comics, I'm saying this now because this is in relation to the Hooligans. Sonic in modern Sonic in issue 3 of IDW has mentioned the Hooligans. Please do not look into that too much because that thing actually went over Sega's head when the issue was being written out by Ian, and apparently it got him in trouble. So, yeah, Sega is made very clear that Hooligans and therefore the other classic characters are not going to be able to show up in Modern anytime soon. Actually, someone had asked a question to Ian most recently saying if we're ever going to see human characters in the IDW comics. Because as we all know, the humans have not shown up in the IDW comics as of yet. Ian, with Tales, with Tales 2, we know that Sonic, like the IDW, Sonic takes place all on one world. Both the Mobians, for lack of a better term, and the humans all coexist on one planet together. The humans, they live on the bigger continents, while the animal people live on the islands. But I will mention this now: that intermingling does exist. It's why the animal characters can live in the human cities and stuff. IDW has not shown the humans as of now, but Tales 2 does apply to IDW, and the humans do, in fact, exist during the IDW stories. Ian Flynn has mentioned that the humans had it worse when it came to the metal virus. I'm just making a point here. Again, I'm pulling from context from other stuff. But basically, Ian basically said that we are likely to get the humans back into the comics before we see a classic character become a modern character. Ooh. That is the hard truth. We are to see the humans return before we ever see a classic character become a modern character.
Very interesting.
That's a thing there to talk about. But yeah. So basically, TLDR, Knuckles Chaotix is canon, and obviously certain characters from Modern and Classic are not allowed to show up in either side unless characters have been introduced through Classic. Again, Sonic & Co., the Chaotix, and then Knight is a weird thing that I'm honestly not too sure of. I'm pretty sure someone asked Ian, which if you want to figure that out or ask about why when it comes to the Modern or the Classic characters, you go to the Bumblecast. Again, Bumble King videos. Yes, I'm just letting you guys know, I am not sponsored. I would just say that it would be best to go ask Ian Flynn. But I hope that answers your question. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of this here. Hatmaster 777. I should probably just say 777 at best. That oversized rust bucket's gonna get stewed for using my likeness. Thank you, Sniper. Yeah, actually, that's also something that I guess we're going back to Radar's little corner at the moment, because here's a fun thing I should tell you about. Fang has 3 names now. With Fang's inclusion in later titles, Fang has been renamed, but according to Ian Flynn, he actually changed his name due to his wanted status as a criminal. So, obviously in the past, we knew Fang as Fang the Sniper, or even farther back and in the Archie comics as Knack the Weasel. Now, Fang is known as Fang the Hunter. But you can't call Fang the Sniper or Knack the Weasel because those used to be his names, and all 3 names are technically canon now. So take that as you will, folks.
Oh, that's quite interesting. That's quite interesting to know. Because I know there's lots of people who have trouble, like, wait, is it Fang? Is it Knack? It's like, well, it's like, why not all 3?
Yep, it's all 3, folks. You don't have to worry about it a single thing. So, like, if you were to call him Knack, if you were to call him Fang, cool. He's all the same guy. Let's see here. Cat Catalyst. I gotta get used to that. Can't believe Tails is gonna be a protagonist in Kingdom Hearts. Okay, Cat. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here. Got a my mom. Let's see. Sonic Boone. My mom and I have been tripping on what species Pete is. You didn't know he was a cat? Oh my gosh, Boone! Where have you been? I would have told you like months ago. Good Lord, you're gonna start telling me you don't know what species Goofy is. Anyways, let's see here. See here, Hatmaster. I was saying Bear Ranger. Ah, I see. Yeah, no, it's Bear Anger because it is really just Bearanger. So there's no really R there, but yeah, I get you. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's see here. Anything else? The guide for the fighters Megamix says that Bin is Bean's dad. Okay, so I am right on some sort of sense there. Let's see here. Dino Kaiju has a bit of a question. So there were human zombots. Yes, technically in some sort of sense. Ian, yeah. Of course, we're not going to be dwelling on the metal virus just now. That's for a later stream. But yes, I'm just going to say yes. Let's see. I'm not sponsored, but I'll advertise. That's exactly right, Trix. Thank you. He sure does have a knack for evading the law. Yeah, he's a very Weasley character, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Now the real question is, what is the name on Fang's credit card? Want to ask that to Ian. That ought to be something. He has multiple names. What's his credit card now? His name is Fang, and I won't hear it anyway. Hey, that's totally fine. I mean, call him Fang, call him Knack, whatever you want. He's all the same guy again. I mean, it's not really much of a difference. Sorry. I've been sitting on my leg for like the past hour or so I'm just trying to. Right. I believe that is all the questions for now. So, Leah, do you have a question?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Take it away.
So, so when it comes to how I am curious about how did they with the Phantom Ruby in Sonic Mania, how did that alter the hard boiled heavies? I'm curious about that. How did the Phantom Ruby kind of alter their appearance?
So that is a very, very important. That is a very interesting question because, as we know, with the Phantom Ruby, it has all of these different powers. There is a lot to say about this. The Phantom Ruby, as we know, it can make illusions. It can make clones. The Phantom Ruby can teleport people. It can create pocket dimensions in spaces. It can, power. It's just basically this very interesting power source and such. Basically, the hard-boiled heavies. They were when the Phantom Ruby was active and it sent everyone, including Sonic and Tails, from Angel Island to Green Hill on South Island. The Phantom Ruby's power basically affected the Egg Robos, and apparently it gave them a power that not even Eggman would have ever thought of in his life. Supposedly, basically the Phantom Ruby transformed them. The Phantom Ruby's energy transformed them, and again, the whole time space warping that sent them to Green Hill. Apparently, from what I've read, apparently their appearances were changed to reflect the animals inside them. So like whatever animals were powering the hard-boiled heavies, like before they transformed, the Phantom Ruby would take the likenesses of their animal batteries and basically, change them, but with the side effect of them going insane.
Oh.
So, especially you can see that in Heavy Rider, where Heavy Rider is riding a motobug named Jimmy. And Jimmy is a very, very angry motobug. And Heavy Rider is a very, very wild fighter, especially since I don't remember. I believe Heavy Rider was stated to be a girl, at least I can remember or so. I'm just gonna say that it's probably a girl or maybe a boy. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna refer to them as them, just to make sure I don't, just to make sure I can reread what has been said about Heavy Rider. But basically, they just flail around a giant spiked wrecking ball, and again, a lot of their fights, it can be assumed that it's them like increasingly going insane, like them using like drastic measures or stuff, like um, Heavy Gunner during his boss fight in Studiopolis. He perilously escaped getting hit by one of his rockets that Sonic shot back at him, and then just ditched the egg helicopter to basically crash into the ground and into Sonic. Um, I think Heavy Shinobi is like the most graceful of the characters, considering that Heavy Shinobi is a ninja and at least he has like grace and such when it comes to fighting. But the Asteron ninja stars, oh my god, I think that's where it really shines. Basically, yeah, the Phantom Ruby basically affected their appearance, their personality, and I guess the mentality of their processors. I don't know how Eggman's robots work. I didn't know that. I mean, yes, they became their own original characters, and I suppose Eggman, what are you doing?
But that's
But
quite interesting. Very
yeah, I believe I read this around the time of, say, like, I guess it was around the time of when Origins was coming out, and I was like looking back at Mania and such, and I looked a little bit more into the hard boiled heavies. That's honestly another reason why I like them, because they stand out so much out of the other badniks. So I didn't honestly know about their whole personality thing, which I'm starting to realize it kind of alludes to their phantom transformations towards the end of the game at Titanic Monarch, where they basically become the Phantom Heavies. And, they become like these souped up and more powerful versions of themselves. And their fighting strategies from their first boss fights are more erratic and more crazy. Like, Heavy Shinobi basically just becomes this giant ninja star himself, and like the sharper parts of him like come apart in order to like stab at Sonic and anyone else. Or Heavy Rider, where Jimmy upgrades from a motorbug into a motorcycle, and it's like this crazy race between Sonic and Heavy Rider. Or say Heavy Magician, where her magic is just, oh my god, it's this giant 3-cup game, like, the 3 cups to try and find the ball, and it's just, ugh. Yeah, I just really like, yeah. I think this is just adding on to the reason why I like the hard-boiled heavies, because now that I know what happened with them regarding the Phantom Ruby, and the fact they're still around. In the 30th anniversary comics, Eggman rebuilt Heavy King in order to become his general in the of his Badnik army, and then later on in Dr. Eggman's birthday, we see the rest of the hard-boiled heavies back. So I just find it very funny, the fact that, oh, these crazy egg robos that got souped up by the Phantom Ruby, it's totally fine. I can rebuild them again. Nothing bad will come of it. Though, to be fair, I joke about this, but yeah, Eggman stripped away, the the rebellious part of their programming. So, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay.
Wow, I've always wondered about that. It's like, so I had no idea that the Phantom Ruby can like alter, the appearance of like because I was always curious how did that happen? Because we get that aspect in Mania, and of course we kind of see it in Forces, more of the illusions aspect and making the clones and all that. So it's like, how did it alter these the hard boiled heavies? So that's quite interesting. So it's basically it altered because of the you could say their processor from whichever animal they had.
Mm.
And
Yeah, even the fact where it mentioned that the Phantom Ruby basically changed the egg robos to reflect their animal batteries. I did not know that originally. I just thought it had something to do with the fact that it basically just gave them a new paint job and just gave them personalities in the first place. But no, it's based off of their animals, which I think is honestly a really cool idea. Which it isn't also cool considering the animals are still in there, but eh, 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 eh,
but
eh.
it totally makes a lot of sense now because I'm pretty sure lots of people in the stream did not know that,
Oh
because
no, I'm pretty sure some people are like finding this out the same time. Like, well, not the same time I did. I'm just sure that a lot of people are like, finding this out as well. So, um, but yeah, and yeah, when you mentioned about forces, in regards to the Phantom Ruby, I'd like to assume this, and maybe it could be true that maybe I can talk about forces because Classic Sonic was there. I'd like to assume the Phantom Ruby had something to do with Infinite and such. Not just because it gave him his power, but also just because of the way like I'm very sure Infinite's mentality changed with the Phantom Ruby. Not yes, technically he was, you know, his mental state was going down the drain after the Jackal Squad was taken down and the whole thing with Shadow and all that. But not going to go into that. Not going to go into that. But yeah, I just think with the Phantom Ruby and the fact that it changed like the quote unquote mentalities of the egg robos, I think it definitely had a very drastic change on Infinite. Even though Infinite, it's Infinite. So yeah. Let's see here. Hanon has also said something. The genders were seemingly inherited from the personalities of the animals within them. The personalities of the animals also mucked with the Eggman programming of the bots, thanks to the Ruby's interference. Hence, why they don't like Sonic, but they also went to rebel against Eggman. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know. That's also a thing I didn't know. Okay. Well, that also makes sense considering the fact that up until Sonic had defeated the Phantom Heavies, Phantom King went up to steal the Phantom Ruby for himself against Eggman. And as well as after being rebuilt in 30th anniversary, Heavy King would become a little too commanding and basically kick Eggman out of his winter cavern space. So okay. Thank you, hang on. That I'm learning new stuff from all of you as well. See, isn't this fun?
Yeah, it like because now we have a better idea of how the Phantom Ruby's power, like affects, like I guess the mentality, because with the example of Infinite, it like pretty sure it was the Phantom Ruby's influence that kind of, affected his mentality in some way. And that also goes the same for the hard boiled heavies. That's quite interesting to know because I was always curious when I first saw that. I was like, how did this Phantom Ruby alter their appearance? And so now we know.
Yes. But yeah. It's very, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. I don't see any other questions, and Liam, is there anything you wanted to share, or is there anything you wanted to ask, or do you think now is the time to?
I do have another question.
Right.
Because first we had Sonic Mania, and then when they came out with Sonic Mania Plus, we have Ray and Mighty joining them. So how did they get involved in the story? Because I know they were added in Sonic Mania Plus, and I want to know how did they fit into the story of Sonic Mania Plus?
Okay. Here is where things get interesting. Originally from Tyson Hess, who is the director of Sonic Mania Adventures, he had originally said that Sonic Mania Adventures and Sonic Mania Plus are both canon with each other. He had originally said that when Sonic comes back from Forces and he ends up on Angel Island, it's like this two-way story happening at the same time, and then it takes turns with each other. So it starts off with Sonic coming back from Forces in Mania Adventures, and he's striking the same pose he gave to Modern Tales before he had left. And then he looks around Angel Island. And then it goes to Mania Plus, the Encore mode, where he sees that the Phantom Ruby came back with him to the classic side of things. And the Phantom Ruby would just end up floating away. And then it would go back to Mania Adventures, where Sonic looks around the tropical jungle to see new dug-up holes. Then, up in the sky, he sees the Eggmobile carrying a capsule full of Flickies, and he knows that's Eggman. So then that precedes Mania Adventures. And then after episode 6, which is the Christmas episode with Amy, after Metal Sonic is returned to Eggman by Amy, and Amy runs off giving Sonic a flower, it then goes off into Encore mode, where Sonic is now running across the tropical jungle, and he ends up finding Mighty and Ray, who Sonic last saw hanging out with them eating a chili dog after they beat Eggman and Metal Sonic. Technically, Knuckles did, getting the Master Emerald back, but what's to say? But yeah, Sonic finds that they are trapped in a Schrodinger's capsule. So with Sonic freeing them, obviously the player would have to choose either hanging out with Mighty or Ray. The other turning out to be Heavy Magician, who had taken the Phantom Ruby and raced across the island in order to give the Phantom Ruby to a discarded pile of hard-boiled heavies. After Sonic and the other character joins them, either Mighty or Ray, the Phantom Ruby is held in the hands of Heavy King, and they all reactivate. The Phantom Ruby sends them all to Green Hill, and off they go, redoing the events of Sonic Mania. That is what Tyson Hess said. As of recently, with Tyson Hess being on the lore team, it sounds that Encore mode is no longer canon, and Mania Adventures is. So, Mighty and Ray being playable in Sonic is not canon. They are just an add-on part of the game. What is canon, though, is their appearance in Mania Adventures, where Ray is looking for Mighty after he has gone missing, supposedly after the events of Sega Sonic, and possibly also after Knuckles Chaotix, since Ray was not in that game with Mighty. And then after Mania Adventures, it would go on to the 30th anniversary story, where we see Mighty and Ray show up again, helping Amy find the Chaos Emeralds during Seasons of Chaos, and then checking out Amy's stories, her comics, in Amy's New Hobby. So, you play as Mighty and Ray in Mania, yes, but that does not mean that their inclusion is canon anymore, as of right now. Again, Tyson Hess is part of the lore team with Ian Flynn and everyone else. So it is obvious that they brought that. It is obvious that Ian and Tyson and everyone else had probably talked about that plot point before, which is why Encore mode is no longer being considered canon as of right now.
Mm.
So that's basically what that is. Mighty and Ray being in like the Mania story is canon, but being in the Mania game isn't technically. And obviously not the fact that they can go super. We are not going to talk about those super estate mandates. Good lord. Not
Um,
going to have it. Not going to have it at all.
okay, so basically, having Mighty and Ray and Sonic Mania Plus in the game is actually they're not canon to the story, but Sonic Mania Adventures is technically canon in the according to what Tyson Hess had according to
According to Ian Flynn from Tyson. So because
mhm.
Ian has asked Tyson this, they've talked about this. Um, it was considered that both of them are canon, but now the case is that only Mania Adventures is. But technically, Sonic Plus is canon. I'm just referring to the Encore mode. Like Sonic Mania Plus is canon because Sonic Mania Plus like gives like a lot more context in the story, such as new zone transitions, giving Metal Sonic his like a new boss fight. Because in the original Sonic Mania, at the boss fight at sort of Speedway, you just race against Metal Sonic while being chased by a spiked brick wall. But in Sonic Mania Plus, Metal Sonic uses the Phantom Ruby himself to transform himself into Giga Metal. So Mania Plus is definitely canon. I'm just referring to the Encore mode that features Mighty and Ray in the story.
Okay. So it's just basically just the encore mode is not considered canon.
No, but and just Mighty and Ray being playable in the game in general. They're more of an add-on like how Amy is in Origins Plus, where it is obvious that she is not playable during the stories of 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles or even Sonic 1, but she's still playable anyways. Like Mighty and Ray are on the level of Amy in Origins Plus, I mean.
Okay. I get it now. Let's see. Is there any other questions from the audience?
Any other audience questions? Anybody?
I do not see, yeah, I do not see any other questions from the audience. Let's see. I know I have another question, but it's like at the tip of my tongue right now.
I'll still be trying to think of one. Don't worry, it's all right, Solon. It's all right.
Let's see. Mm, oh wait, oh yeah. My question is, where does Knuckles Chaotix fit into the classic timeline? I've always been curious about that.
So fortunately, Knuckles Chaotix is canon to Classic. It's just the problem is Knuckles Chaotix doesn't have a proper timeline placement as of right now. I know people have asked Ian this. I believe so. I don't exactly remember what he has said, but and the question, and I also know that in the question he's only said that Knuckles Chaotix is canon, not where placed on the timeline. So that's mainly the reason why I'm going off of chronological release date for Chaotix, placing it after the Drift races and before Tails Sky Patrol, only because again, chronological release date order is okay to use in regards to timeline, and I will get into that in Dreamcast and Modern when I get to do those. But Knuckles Chaotix doesn't have a proper timeline placement yet. You could assume that a lot that considering that Spinball, 3D Blast R, and Sega Sonic, they're all non-Game Gear games that take place after 3 and Knuckles, like right off the heels of 3 and Knuckles. You can say that a lot of like the Game Gear games happen after the other like mainline slash spin-off games that aren't Game Gear, but that's just assuming. Again, I wouldn't really know. Uh, I'm sure someone will. I'm sure someone will ask Ian again, and maybe he'll confirm it in the future. Or we just have to wait on the inevitable timeline order that are the official timeline order that's supposed to come out from Sonic. But as far as we know, we have no idea. Especially since, but Chaotix is still canon, so at least that's something. That's something at least. Yeah.
Oh, looks like I see another question from Rainbow. I have
Oh.
another question for you, Radar. Any favorite of music slash soundtracks that you love in the classic era?
Oh boy.
This is like
Okay.
my
Okay.
favorite child.
Oh no. Picking favorite stages is hard enough. Picking favorite music, Rainbow, you're just trying to kill me now. Oh my gosh. I can't do this. You can't do this to me. No. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. There is a lot of tracks in the Sonic series that I enjoy. I Spring Yard, Stardust Speedway, Metallic Madness, Palm Tree Panic, Chemical Plant, Casino Night, Hilltop, um, Hydra City, Marble Garden, Carnival Night, Launch Base, Mushroom Hill, Sky Sanctuary, Flying Battery, Toxic Caves, Green Grove, Spring Stadium. Uh, I believe Gene Gadget is the one. Yeah, Gene Gadget. Literally all the songs in Sonic R, they're amazing. Um, Bridge Zone in Sonic 8-bit, that's a cool one. Underground in Sonic 2 8-bit. Sunset Park in Triple Trouble. Oh, I love Sunset Park. Um, Isolated Island from Chaotix. Those are good ones. Um, there's a lot of levels I like in terms of songs, and there's also the vocal songs, which I am so in love with, especially CDs. CDs vocal songs just speak to me. They speak to me a lot. You Can Do Anything and Believe in Yourself are two of my favorite. Oh, sorry. You Can Do Anything and Cosmic Eternity are my favorite songs from that sort of thing. And then again, the R songs, they're awesome. Like I said, Work It Out and Living in a City. I especially like songs from Sonic the Fighters, which are pretty cool. I enjoy Aurora Icefield and Casino Night. Sonic World has a really nice track. I really like Sonic Jam's music there, which is heard in Sonic Origins, which was pretty cool. Studiopolis is awesome. Mirage Saloon, I will tell you, Mirage Saloon, specifically Knuckles' stage in Act 1, that goes so hard. I love that song. Oh my god. It is such ear candy for my brain. It's so good. And then uh Stardust Speedway, Titanic Monarch in that zone. Stardust Speedway Pass and Mania is also really, really good. I enjoy that. Um Really good stuff. Um and yeah. Um I just enjoy the songs a lot. I'm not sure if I've ever heard of a bad song from the classic games, unless it's the Spinball options menu. Do not go listening to that song, please don't. Unless it's for a meme that you've seen, please don't go near that song. But apart from that, a lot of the songs are pretty good, especially in the late '90s with Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic R. Like those songs are just really good. I will say right now that Sonic 3D Blast's "You're My Hero" is one of the most underrated vocal songs of that era, and I will die on that hill just because of how good of a song and how good of a message it is. Like it's basically the Flickies calling out to Sonic after they get saved by him, and it's such a heartfelt song. Please go listen to that song. I'm begging you all. But that is my answer. That is my answer.
Wow, that's a lot of great music that you listed. And um and unfortunately we will have to end this live stream for the very first episode of Sonic Lore with Radar.
Oh my
but
god.
do but do not worry. This is a live stream series and we are going to be delving into the other into the other Sonic lore, but which of course we had to start at the beginning with classic, with the classic lore. Um so yeah, stay tuned. Radar, do you want to announce what's the next one we're going to be doing? The next lore, in which lore genre we're going to be talking about for the next Sonic lore with Radar?
When we get a chance to announce, a date for the next stream, we are going to be doing the Dreamcast era of the Sonic series, which consists of the adventure games, the Game Boy Advance games. We'll be talking about Sonic 4. We'll be talking about Heroes, Shadow, just basically that era of Sonic during the early 2000s, late 1990s. Maybe even talk about Sonic Shuffle while we're at it. That's going to be fun. We're gonna be having some fun with this. It's gonna be a really great series. I do want to thank Leah for having me on for this and for acquiring me to get to do multiple of these. And I know I'm going to be thanking in advance who I've asked to be my co-host for the Dreamcast era stream, Sonic Boone, down there in the chat. Thank you for accepting my offer, and I am very excited to be talking about the Dreamcast era with you eventually. So that's going to be a really fun time. And yeah, I'm really excited. And especially if you guys are fans of the Adventure series, just maybe talking about a little bit of Jason Griffin, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Be on the lookout for episode 2. And of course I am still going to be doing the Q&As, so be on the lookout for that. I will be hopefully announcing soon who will be my next Q&A. But hope you all have a wonderful night.
Yes.
It was a pleasure to do this very first episode with you, Radar.
Yes. Is it okay if I can just drop my socials real quick, just in case people want to find me?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So, just letting you all know, you guys can find me on Twitter at Flooftune15, Flooftune15, FLOOFTOON15. On Instagram, you can find me under Gavin CJ20 or just Fun Floof the Cartoon, whichever you're going at it. And then if you know me on any Discord servers, just find me at on the radar 8545. That's on underscore the underscore radar 8545. Just in case you guys want to friend me, I'm willing to show you guys the document that I've been using for this very live stream and for the next few live streams to come. I know that it'll be awesome getting to hang out with you guys. And I hope you guys get to learn something that I was surprised to learn about.
Yes, it was very educational. Like, I've learned a lot of new things that I didn't know, and being able to have you as a guest to explain the lore, it's it's just mind-boggling, So it's very educational in learning all the different lore from the different games, and learning about the chronological, to from what we know now. It's very educational.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. But at the same time, I feel like I still only said like surface level stuff. Like, I know so much about Sonic. Like, I feel like, but do people know this? Do people not know this? I don't know. I feel like everyone knows this. Could I try something harder?
You did such an amazing job, Radar. But yeah, stay tuned for like the next Q&A, and of course the very next episode of Sonic Lore with Radar. So hope you guys have a wonderful night. Bye
And
everyone.
make sure to subscribe to Leah Serenity Rose for these Q&As. Thank you.